Now we need to talk about some technology revolutions. In real life, the trajectory of technology revolutions is not as smooth and as continued as a standardized curve presents. The process of installation of new tech of each new techno economic paradigm in society begins with the battle against the power of the old, which is ingrained in the established production structure and embedded in the socio-culture environment and in the institutional framework. Only when the battle has practically won can the paradigm really diffuse across the whole economy of the core of the nation and later across the world. So that's I mean, that is a perfect example, right, of what we've seen with Ethereum versus what is going to happen with Kadena, right? So like you see this, so here's the big bang right here, the start, the inception of Ethereum, and it was just like that, right? I mean, we were mining it when it was $2. And then all of a sudden it started to gain traction and it took off like a rocket, right? And then if we say like this was 2021 as far as Ethereum goes, get some markers on here for you guys to show what I'm saying. We'll say that's 2017. Or not 2017, that would have been 2015. I will say 16. 2016. That was right at the inception of Ethereum. Right, so this was the inception of Ethereum here in 2016. And this was this adoption curve. I would even say the breaking point right here would have been 2020. All right, so this was early 2020. This would be Crypto Kitties. That's perfect the way that worked out. I would say this would be the peak of the 2021 bull run. I think the majority of the industry, anybody that actually understands blockchain technology just fully understands that no matter what Ethereum can do on its best day in 100 million years, the technology outside of being shillable and hopium and a complete pipe dream. It'll never ever make anywhere. And this is that flattening of the curve. The adoption is going down. TVL is going down. The only thing that's going up is the fact that people are pumping the coin, right? There's a bunch of retail investors. A lot of people think that they can ride it up. Not just retail investors, but investors in general understand how much hype the merge is going to get and how horrible it's going to turn out. There's no way that it turns out any different than this. Right? So, biggest flaws with Ethereum. Number one, smart contracts are not upgradable. Why am I in caps lock, damn it? Why the hell is my computer all in capital locks? There we go. Oh, here, how about you guys teach me? Why are the top 5 or 10 reasons why Ethereum's gonna fail? What do you got that for, Jay Carter? You only normally keep an old credit card for a few reasons. So Brock says multi-sig capabilities, smart contract, multi-sig capabilities, contract languages, solidity, scalability, consensus on layer 2 is centralized. Yep. Gas fees, no formal verification. You guys are getting good at this. Number 2. So Solidity is the worst smart contract coding language in the history of the world. No formal verification. Yep. That's a good one, Claus. So, Crypto Santa Claus. What up, homie? Long time no see. Gosh damn, bro. Good to see you. So... Turing complete. Yep. So let's break this off and we'll go, okay. So what's Solidity? What'd you guys say? Not human readable? Yep. So it's Turing incomplete. So it's Turing complete, meaning that as proof of work, until the merge is complete, yep. Yep. So many hacks, so we can put that on there. Hacker's Paradise. Easier for users at the moment. I mean, if you can't figure out how to send a coin, I mean, you might as well just hang up your crypto shoes, man. I mean, it's no different than transferring coins from Solana to Avalanche or any other ecosystem. The only difference is you choose whatever chain you want to send it to. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it's literally so freaking simple. Yeah, it's the #1 hacked. It's more hacks than any other ecosystem happen in Ethereum contracts. ETH is trash for sure. You put your foot on the accelerator, not the brakes. Geeko, 14 billion, my friend. 14 billion last year. And that was just the ones that they actually proved. Yeah, there was a monumental amount of hacks last year. There was there was 1.7 billion just in Q1 of 2022. Yeah. Illicit addresses receiving 14 billion over the course of the year. So $14 billion worth of hacks just in 2021. And I would say that we've monumentally blown that out of the water. All that 14 billion wasn't Ethereum, but a lot of it was. Yeah. Joking. Says KDA is like the girl in the corner where you hit the brakes. Tell her to hop on in. Let's party. Let's go. What else we got here? So how do you explain what we've got so far, right? How do you explain that in layman terms? Human readable code's easy. The Turing complete one's the hard one that you really have to like elaborate on. So now, what does Kadena have that Ethereum doesn't, right? Oh yeah, nah. Obviously the most common one is number 5. It cannot scale. So no blockchain in history has ever been able to scale a blockchain that can support more than 500 TPS, and I think even 500 TPS is going over the top. What is the most transactions that near blockchains ever processed in a day? Hi, y'all. I just recently found out about Near, and I have a pretty high conviction in its success. I'd like to know the TPS. I have a pretty high conviction about this blockchain, guys, but what's the TPS again? Sounds like me in Flux. Oh, that's a pretty bad block explorer. Is that the only Near block explorer they got? All right, so man, you can't even do. All right, so let's just say we take when was it busy? I mean, this is only over the last 30 days. But it looks like the most TPS that they've done in a day is like the same as Bitcoin's blockchain. Like they're doing 400,000 TPS. 400,000 in a 24-hour period. It's not much. I'm not really sure. I don't know anything about Ergo. Sorry, guys. Like I said, I don't think that, like, what does that come out to? That comes out to like 5 or 10 TPS. If you just took 400,000, divide that by 24 hours in a day, divided by 60 minutes in an hour, divided by 60 seconds. Yeah, 4.62 is what Near's blockchain is processing right now. Fear not, Ethereans. I have given you pact. So I can't be exactly certain to say for 100%, but I would be confident to say that no sharding blockchain has ever been able to prove that they can scale a blockchain that can support more than 500 TPS. So they all break. They all claim they can scale. There's no benchmarking. All beta testing is done in a fairy tale perfect environment. Feel free to help me on these analogies, guys, because I suck at this stuff. So you guys got some better analogies or better ways to word this, by all means. So they claim that they can scale. There is zero way to simulate real world adoption. All beta testing is done in a fairy tale perfect world in a fairy tale perfect environment. So how all these blockchains, and Kadena is no different, right? The only thing that Kadena has done is they scaled from 10 chains to 20 chains to show us that they're able to do that. You know, Kadena's 480,000 TPS also done the same way. It's theoretical. But when you have 10 blockchains that are all running and you have the ability to go to more chains and you can always add more chains, and that part has been proven, that's all that matters to us. Their main blockchain, the main layer 1, as they scale will only be, I think it's like 10,000 TPS, which is insane. Like, you're talking about that much TPS on a proof of work layer 1 is just effing bonkers. Insane bonkers. So the fact that at the end of the day, even if you didn't use Kadena's smart contracts, right? The fact that you can settle, they have 20 Bitcoin like blockchains all running all at the same time as a store of value. You couldn't find a better asset. It's just that simple. And you add smart contracts on it like that, they're literally building the internet of the blockchain. Definitely Pretty Boy Floyd. Yep.
I'm trying to touch the states this time. 2021.
I think all smart contracts can be used as evidence in litigation. You would just have to have a forensic scientist, you know, do a little bit of due diligence, because you can reverse engineer a Solidity smart contract with the right programming, and you just have to have, it'd be no different than probably having a forensic scientist come in and testify about a crime scene, right? To actually explain it to the general public, and that's what they do. So I think you could use that in any way, but definitely Pact is a lot easier because it's human readable. That's these people. I mean, the adoption rate on something that's human readable is insane compared. So yeah, we should add that in there. The adoption rate. What is worth, Cardano or ETH? Well, Cardano's at the very least wrote in a coding language that has the ability to be secure. Right? The beard comb's coming out. I was growing it till I got to 100K. Then I was gonna shave it. But then I got in all the drama on YouTube and channel tanked. It's back on track though. It's growing again, so I can't complain. $500 billion. We'll see, Waka. I mean, what always leads to bull runs is really good economic conditions. Bitcoin's never seen a recession. Bitcoin's never seen a depression. And if this was any indicator of what happens to Bitcoin in the crypto market when we go into a depression or recession for that matter, a recession would be bad. A depression could be catastrophic to Bitcoin. And with what they're doing, as far as the only hope we have is that the 2024 presidential election is going to happen at the same time as the bull run, as the Bitcoin halving. So how Satoshi planned that out and how that happens is absolute sheer brilliance, right? I don't even know if I've ever heard anybody else talk about that. The Bitcoin halving is perfectly timed with presidential elections. which almost guarantees that the Fed is going to have their foot on the money printer, just going brrrr. I mean, if they could blow the brakes off the money printer, it's going to happen in 2024. Because they have to keep this charade going. Fairy tale. Good catch, homie. I would have spelled that wrong in the video, too. So the adoption rate has definitely peaked. Oh, they're getting rid of miners, number 7. Yes, somebody said that earlier. $10,000 by 20. That's insane. But hey, that's possible. You never know. That would be one of the. Ethereum would have to become one of the most adopted technologies in the world, which I think it's going to. So number 1, they have the ability to scale. So the only coin in the top 100 that outperformed Kadena was Shiba. Yes, sir. Now you're talking. Now you're talking. First gas-free ecosystem. Transactions cost you nothing. That's why I laugh every time I hear anybody say anything about the Kadena miner rewards. I'm like, y'all, so funny, man. Yo, Jet Man, Cheat Man, what up, what up? YFI, definitely, my friend. Everything on the Ethereum ecosystem's toast, my friend. If, you know, just who's going to use it? You know, what does YFI do? Like, what was the big ploy? What did YFI do as far as a project, right? So, Yearn Finance is an agitator, Yearn Finance is an agitator service for decentralized finance investors using automation to allow them to maximize their profits from yield farming. Its goal is to simplify the ever-expanding DeFi space for investors who are not technically minded or who wish to interact in a less material manner than serious traders. So, launched in February 2020, the service formerly known as iEarn has huge growth in recent months as new products debuted and developers release in-house token YFI. So YFI is a brainchild of Andre so-and-so. What makes Yearn Finance unique? Yearn Finance set out to simplify DeFi investments and activities such as yield farming for the broader investor sector. The platform uses a various bespoke tool to act as the aggregator for DeFi protocols such as Curve, Compound, Aave, bringing those who stake cryptocurrency the highest possible yields. New features continue to be rolled out, these aiming, among other things, to help preserve the long-term value of the platform. Yo, Derek, 3 months member. Let's go, homie. Much love, homie. I appreciate you guys. You're on both channels too, man. I appreciate you guys big time. So what looks like Yearn is doing, right, is they allow you to stake over in Yearn, and I assume that that means that you get YFI tokens in return for staking your assets. So they made this cryptocurrency up out of thin air, and they said, hey, come give us your crypto. You stake your crypto on their platform. That gives them the ability to take your crypto and use it however they want, borrow it, lend it, whatever they do with it. Stake it in other platforms where they have bots that make them crap loads of money. And in return, they pay you your rewards, I assume, in YFI token or Curve token or whatever it is that they pay you in. Another proof of stake make-believe fairy tale coin. I mean, it's brilliant. Now, what else is brilliant about that is the fact that it's on Ethereum. So, like, who wants to hold any ERC20 tokens, let alone stake them on an ecosystem where every time to compound your yields, you have to pay Ethereum gas fees. So unless you have a behemoth whale wallet with, you know, millions and millions of dollars, it's not even worth. So any retail investor, put it this way, any retail investor that's staking less than probably a $20,000, this application is completely useless to you. Or if this application was built on any other platform that didn't involve Ethereum fees, it would be 100,000 times better. So like, will Aave move over? Probably not, because the problem lies with all of their coding languages. Like, somebody's gonna build Yearn, or exactly what Yearn did on Kadena, on an ecosystem, and nobody wants, like, what are you gonna do? People are gonna use Yearn to keep their MetaMask wallet, which most people hate. It's like this old, like, it just reminds me like Game Boy or like MySpace, you know, and where people think that it's just like Ethereum's too big to fail, or, you know, these projects won't die. It's like, you can't explain it. The only bonus is that 100% of Yearn tokens are released into supply. So now how do they even incentivize you to use their application? And it looks like they've bridged over to the Phantom ecosystem, the Arbitrum ecosystem. And I don't see anybody using Arbitrum. I don't see many people using Phantom. I think Phantom's just kind of like a developer free-for-all on a DAG too, of all things. So you got a Ethereum, which is toast. You got Phantom, which is a DAG. And then you get Arbitrum, which is supposed to be some lifeline to Ethereum. So if Ethereum 2 rolls out and the merge works, then Arbitrum's useless. And if Ethereum merge does work and it's magically this greatest thing since sliced bread, well, that makes Arbitrum useless. It makes Phantom useless. It makes Polygon useless. It makes Solana useless. It makes it, you know, all the other blockchains useless. All the other proof of stake blockchains. Dimron says, did you see the amount of bullish news on the Kadena CMC page? No, I did not. Where are you seeing it at, homie? Ethereum's toast because the coding language Solidity is like a relic. It's old, it's outdated. They don't use formal verification, so new blockchains that have incorporated formal verification into their coding language, every time you code or you write a line of code, that line of code has been audited 1 billion times every second. So every time you code in a coding language like Pact, the coding protocol is using what's called Z3. It's a technology created by Microsoft. and it's a way to self-audit code. So Pact has formal verification. There's also coding languages now that are out in human readable code that don't get compiled and turned into byte code. So it makes it 10 times, a billion times easier to read, billion times safer. The Ethereum smart contracts are not upgradable. Because of the EVM, there's several like major flaws in Ethereum smart contracts. And if they were to upgrade them or make any modification to them, it would make everything that uses EVM completely dead. It would break it, from what I understand. It's a little bit over my head, but just to give you guys the gist of it. Other new coding languages, again, have upgradable smart contracts. They don't use formal verification. It cannot scale, period, right? So they're attempting to switch to a sharded network. And there has never been a blockchain in history that's ever been able to produce a blockchain that shards that is capable of handling more than 500 TPS. They all claim that they can scale, right? They all claim that they can do a billion TPS, but then they get a market cap of 25 billion, and it's like haywire. It's like completely economic meltdown, complete collapse, flipping the reset switch on and off to reset their blockchain. It's almost like a joke, you know? Adoption on Ethereum has peaked. Switching to proof of stake makes Ethereum centralized. And last but not least, it's probably not even close to last. I could keep going on. What was I just going to say? The adoption. Oh man, I had such a good one there. Oh, the NFT. So picture what you guys think is great about Ethereum NFTs and what Ethereum NFTs can do. Comparing that to something would be equivalent to comparing AOL, America Online, and thinking back in 1996 that America Online was going to change the world because it had instant messenger and you could now get online and pick up chicks from your computer at home. You know, when you're like 5th grade, like that shit was so cool. Now imagine going back to the 1990s and giving somebody an iPhone with TikTok on it and being like, this is what the future of social media is going to be, right? And people probably would have laughed at you, been like, yeah, okay, whatever. But no different than like what instant messenger did to email, right? BTC is not AOL. BTC doesn't need to do anything. BTC is digital gold. It never has to change. It never has to evolve. It doesn't have to do anything. BTC is gold, and that's why they call it digital gold, because it doesn't need to change, it doesn't need to evolve, it just needs to stay the same. And that's what makes gold gold, is the fact that it's the hardest form of currency. It's the only currency in the history of the world that nobody's ever been able to replicate or cheat, I guess you could say. There's always been a way to make sure that your gold is gold and it stays that pure value of gold. And that's what makes Ethereum Ethereum, you know? So Simran says that the Harmony community is literally imploding. They are falling so hard. It's going to be BTC, KDA flux. Definitely. I mean, we pointed that out a while ago, Simran. With the, you know, no blockchain has proven that they can scale ever. So taking a look at Harmony. Chain sharding. So, you know, and this is the stuff that blows my mind, that like people are even questioning the fact that Ethereum's going to run. It's like, did anybody, like, do any of these news media outlets even put in more than like, we reached out to this guy and he's been in the blockchain industry for 10 years and he says that Ethereum's the future. And you're like thinking to yourself, like, geez, oh Pete's, these media outlets care about views, clicks, and that's it. That's all they care about. They don't care about helping you get educated about blockchain technology. They want to write articles because the merge is trending. And talking about the merge in a positive light is going to get you a community with, you know, 5 million active users. And that's it. Negatives of Kadena. So I think the biggest negatives to Kadena that we just don't know what they are yet. I would say that the unknown. It's like I tried to go through, like, that's what really got me falling in love with Kadena, is going back through, because, you know, if we went back to 2015, right, we wouldn't have known all the limitations that Ethereum was going to hit, right? Unless you built blockchains. I mean, it was clear in 2017. It was it's probably clear in 2016, but it was really apparent in 2017. That's why we have, you know, 19,000 more versions of Ethereum out, right? Because everybody's seen what Ethereum was doing and they thought they could do it a little bit better and their way would work, right? So, but you just don't know what your limitations are until you actually hit them. The purpose of Flux. So you know what Amazon AWS is, right? Amazon AWS is the most profitable part about Amazon. They provide cloud infrastructure. So Flux is put together, like when you're mining Flux or you're setting up a Flux node. So when you set up a Flux node, what you're doing is you're either providing your access to your equipment. So whether that's a certain amount of storage that you have on your device, when you're mining, it's your GPU power. So what that allows Flux to do, the nodes anyways, when I set up a Flux node, I need to, based on the amount of Flux I'm going to deposit in it, depends on the size requirements for your node. So if I want to set up like the BAMF, like the bad ace mofos, those ones you need like whatever, 50,000 Flux. I stake that 50,000 Flux, and that device has I don't know what the memory requirements are. Say it has like a terabyte of memory, or say it has 200 gigs worth of memory. And what this does is that your node is running, and it's a way for people to back up their stuff. So like Amazon has AWS, which is their cloud infrastructure. So if you want to host your website and you don't want to have your own server at your house or your business to do it, you can host it virtually on Amazon. And Amazon charges you 65 cents per gigabit of data that you want to host on their servers, right? Well, all Flux nodes are doing is they're all connecting together, and they're running this giant, massive, decentralized computational network at scale, and it's free. So in order to stand up you want to launch your website on Flux, all you have to do is Dockerize your application. And what that means is your application needs to be able to communicate to Flux or in Solidity. And what that does is you just basically Dockerize your website, and then you can just plug it right into the Flux blockchain. I mean, there's people that have Minecraft servers up on Flux. They have, I don't know, it's way above my head, and I don't own enough Flux, but that's the general idea, is Flux is building out this giant computational network. So they're also running nodes for other projects, which is really cool. So because Zelcore is so unique, all they need to do for Flux to communicate with another blockchain is they need to be running a node for that blockchain. So they reach out to the big name blockchains like Ergo, for example. Well, Ergo is a proof of work blockchain. In proof of work blockchains, you don't have any staking rewards. So your nodes in proof of stake blockchains get rewarded in all the tokens. So for example, when Flux is running a Solana node, what's happening is that Solana node is paying out rewards every month. So most blockchains, you need permission. So like to run a Polygon node, you have to actually go to the Polygon team and get approval to run a node. You can't just go set up your own Polygon node. They have to approve it and allow you on the network to be a node operator. So if they were to run a Polygon node for the Polygon ecosystem, then Polygon could become a parallel asset in the Flux ecosystem. And what that does is it allows the Flux blockchain and Zelcore to actually store those wallets, because they're actually running a node, which is storing a backup copy of that blockchain. And then what Flux does is Flux spins up a parallel side chain. So you're not actually putting your Solana in the Flux wallet. What you're doing is you're putting your Solana into basically a Flux bridge, and then they're allowing you to deposit those assets in your wallet. But I'm pretty sure that Flux holds those assets. I don't think they're actually in your wallet. I think it's like a wrapped version of them in Flux. So when Flux is paying out your parallel asset rewards, I'm pretty sure they're paying you in like F Sol. I don't think you're actually just getting raw Sol. And that's because so that the assets in Flux always have a way to make it back to the mother chain, right? They're always a 1-for-1. There's never Flux is doing anything. They're just getting immediately locked, and then you're getting a copy of that inside the Flux ecosystem. And then you can store it in your Flux wallet. But that's just to give you a general idea. I don't know enough about it. But I'm working on, if Dan and the Flux team gets me some scripts, I'm trying to make whiteboard videos on Flux, but it's still way above my head. I think I said that right, though. There's a lot of guys in here that know a lot more about it than I do. Yeah. So Kadena is gas free, right? So what that means is like how much money was spent on Ethereum gas fees in January of 21. Can anybody tell me what Ethereum miners made in 2021? How much money was paid in Ethereum gas fees in 2021? There has to be a website that has the total value of every penny paid out in Ethereum gas fees in 2021. Okay. Here's one, the best one I could find. So Ethereum miners earned a record $830 million in January. So put it this way. If the Ethereum blockchain gets as busy as Ethereum did, in 1 month, it's going to save you guys $830 million. Do you understand that? You are paying to use the network. Ethereum charges you insane gas fees, and they print coins, which depreciates the value of your tokens, guys. You are paying miners that are charging you an arm and a leg to do their job. Period. Kadena, you buy the tokens, you pay nothing for life. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. The rewards are what secures the network and what allows you to use it for free. I swear to gosh, if another person said something about a Kadena gas fees, Jesus Christ. Go use Ethereum if you want to complain about Kadena gas fees. Blows my mind, man. This is adoption, homie. We're trying to build a network that's going to attract trillions of people, billions of people. Kadena doesn't need to be $3,000 today. I'd even go as far as saying they should increase their miner rewards to keep price low, to get more retail investors in it, because that's what matters, getting as many new retail investors and getting the Kadena community to grow as large as humanly possible for as long as possible, so that when we go into the next bull run, we got a ton of people that are making ass loads of money, not just a handful of people that are making ass loads of money because they got in super early. The idea of that inflation rate should be higher, in my opinion, so that everybody just gets to sit here and suck it up for another 2 years while another 500,000 people, well, it's actually probably 240,000, right? Like you can look at Twitter and go, this is the most investors that there could be in Kadena. Right? If Papa E's right, you probably got 50% of these are bots. And then maybe say 50% of investors don't use Twitter, right? So tops, you have 240,000 investors in Kadena.
We've been on and off again and again. I don't know which way we're going, no control. You push me, then you pull me back in. We've been on and off again and again. I don't know which way we're going, no control. You push me, then you pull me back in.
I don't know if there's a way to figure out how many Kadena wallets have been downloaded. Is there anywhere that shows us the number of users with a Chainweaver wallet? Because that would be one way to show you somewhat of a similarity. Back in the day, you could have compared Cardano wallet downloads to Ethereum wallet downloads and had a general idea. Like the Solana blockchain was really nice because we could really say that like a majority of people that were using Solana were using Phantom. So you could show where Phantom was at its adoption rate versus where Ethereum was at its adoption rate. But I don't think that there's any good sites out there. So another downfall to Kadena would be there's just no proper software, right? Block Explorer sucks. They 99% of so Block Explorer sucks. No wallet tracking. Very few statistics. They are getting no love, zero love from exchanges, crypto media outlets. So they get no love because until the Kadena ecosystem is popping and these exchanges actually want to start listing things that are being built on top of Kadena, Kadena is just a threat because once people start investing in Kadena, they stop trading Polygon, they stop trading Matic, they stop trading Solana, they stop trading everything. And that's why I say the Kadena ecosystem is the #1 most educated ecosystem. This has to be a fact that, because when you start looking into a Kadena, I want to say a lot of times it's probably because you've seen one of my videos or somebody else's videos. And a majority of those people that are making videos on Kadena, they are educating you about the blockchain and about blockchain technology, because once you start to study or you start learning about Kadena, it almost forces you to want to learn more. Kadena team doesn't, I mean, it's not really their job to hype things up. And they're not, there's nothing to hype yet, you know? The revolutionary things won't happen until these things are done, right? Like, you can't really promote, hey, come build on our blockchain, when we got no documents that teach you how to properly and safely secure and build projects on their blockchain. So without proper PAC documentation, you can't even entice people to come over and build on your blockchain, because you don't even have enough employees to support something like that. So that's number one. Number two would be Marmalade. So until Marmalade's fully beta is fully benchmarked and tested and, you know, run through the ringer. That's one thing I will say. The next thing about this, Kadena doesn't half-ass anything. They don't half-ace anything to make the community happy, period. Kadena does it right or they don't do it. So Kadena will never half-ace anything just to make a community happy, right? If we want something and they can't do it at the highest level of security and guarantee that there is no way that they know of for a hack or an exploit to happen, they won't do it, period. So there's no, like, what are you going to do? Hype them up to come say, hey, come build on our blockchain. We saw that happen last time. They got a bunch of products that we're building, and every one of them was sitting there screaming on Twitter and all these other platforms, making them look horrible. Because there was no support, there was no documentation, there was no nothing. So it's like there's no point for them to even, like, you don't want them to market right now. Kuro is outdated, right? So all these blockchains that need to use Kuro, the layer 2 application that makes Kadena that makes the layer 2s capable of doing 480,000 TPS is outdated. But that's probably because nobody was using it and these other things took higher priority. So those three things come into play. Look the F out, guys. So, you know, there's no point to market, because then you just have a bunch of upset developers. You have a bunch of upset community members, and it just makes you look bad all around. I mean, KDA-BET was a perfect example. You know, KDA-BET was ready to come out guns blazing, but every time, every way they turned, it was like another hiccup, another headache, another. So it's like I don't even know what to talk about with them either, you know. Yeah, and that number 9, that's the number 1 asset, right? So number 9. So think about it like this, right? The Kadena team, Stuart and Will, they built JP Morgan Chase's first blockchain, Juno. They were building a blockchain for the bank. And think about how much money, effort, time, energy went into building that blockchain. Now think about this. How many of these blockchains started building in 2015, 2016, and they started building a blockchain that just doesn't work? So then it falls back to like the same runaround circle as how do we modify what we got to make it work? So you have to modify what you already got to try to keep it running. When in reality, you just want to scrap the whole project and start over. And I think that that's where you get these like high up developers that have been involved with projects from the very beginning, and they leave and start their own blockchain. Charles Hotchkins, Gavin Woods, right? Like how many people on the original Ethereum team, every single one except for Vitalik, left and built their own blockchain. Why? Because they knew from Ethereum and the experience that they had that blockchain just could never scale to meet the demands of global world adoption no matter what they did. If they could have, they wouldn't have left and built their own blockchain. So they did that early on, right? I think they were leaving in like 2015, 2016. So Stuart and Will, when they were building JP Morgan Chase's blockchain, JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon flew out Stuart. He flew out Gavin Woods. He flew out Vitalik. He flew out every big name player in the industry to get interviewed, right? Jamie Dimon was like, hey, if you guys are going to build me a blockchain, right, you better learn from the best. So he flew everybody out. I mean, it's JP Morgan Chase. All these guys wanted to come out and, sit at the round table. So Will and Stu got to sit there and interview them and hear every one of their stories, understand exactly where they failed at, what limitations they hit. And that's how they built Juno. So then after they built another blockchain, after hearing all of those things, it wasn't like they heard those things, they went and built Kadena. They heard those things, then they built JP Morgan, Juno. So they built their own blockchain. They got to see every single limitation that was happening in the industry. And then they went and then they got to start building Kadena. And that's why that experience led them to the conclusion that no matter what coding language they used out in the industry today, there just wasn't one. So then they spent the last 7 years building Pact, which has allowed them to do everything that they've done. And that's what makes them so powerful, is anytime that they run into a road bump, hiccup, or anything, it's an upgradable smart contract language, which makes the limitations of where that can go so crazy. And this video is going to be 30 minutes long. I won't buy it. Kadena doesn't need a layer 2. Oh, it definitely needs a layer 2. 100%. Without the layer 2, I mean, they got 20 chains, but each chain's only capable of doing 10 TPS or 20 TPS, tops 20 TPS. Proof of work blockchains are, 15 is normally a peak on a proof of work blockchain. So you're talking about building something that's going to process billions and billions of transactions, millions and millions of transactions at that layer 2 that's going to attract all the medical facilities, anything that wants to settle in like instant finality and process quadrillions of transactions. And it's those big transactions like KDA-BET being a perfect example. Now you have a layer 2 that's a private layer 2 built on top of the layer 1. And that's the huge selling point to a majority of these bigger pictures. If it just wanted to be a Bitcoin and all you wanted to do is just transact with it like a Bitcoin and pay for your cup of coffee, yeah, the layer 1 would be more than enough. 10,000 TPS at scale. But you're talking about 10,000 TPS on 10,000 on that'd be on 1,000 chains, or no, that'd be 1,000 chains. So you're gonna have to have your application running across 1,000 different chains to be capable of processing, that on the layer 1. It just doesn't make sense. As long as you're settling on the layer 1, that's what matters. You need to be able to constantly add more to your network to settle on your layer 1. And that's what no other blockchain can do. CADX was 9 million yesterday, Geeko. Or, sorry, not CADX. DeFi Llama was 9 million yesterday, last I saw. I think Kadena will pass. Oh, it's almost to 10 billion. It's gaining almost 1 million a day. That's huge. And they're not even tracking every application over here. CADX TVL right now is 6.63, almost 6.7 million. That's a lot. And that's like, there's so many new projects launching on Kadena, and there's going to be so many new meme coins, which is just going to, I mean, like, it's crazy. People will buy $1,000 worth of Kadena and argue about it. And then I'll watch them come over to the Kadena ecosystem and buy $1,000 worth of some poo coin. You know, it's like, it blows my mind. Ah, come on. Come on, Bitcoin. I'm waiting on the 5 minute to give me that buy signal.